Good morning, my dear students. In earlier class, we discussed about the voltage drop calculations in DC distributors. So today's class, we are going to discuss design consideration of primary systems. So design consideration of primary systems in the sense, primary system consisting of the feeders. So feeders basically design based upon voltage level as well as the loading. So before discussing the design consideration, let us consider what is the primary feeder. What are the different types of primary feeders and how those are to be designed. So we'll discuss one by one here. See, primary system in the distribution system, primary system is existing between the distribution substation and primary of the distribution transformer. Is it done? So the primary system is made up of circuits known as feeders or primary distributors. Distribution feeders. Circuits are primary distribution feeders. There are various factors affecting the selection of primary feeder rating are the nature of load connected, the load density of the area served, the growth rate of the load, the need for providing spare capacity for emergency operations, the type and cost of circuit construction employed, the design and capacity of substation involved, the type of regulating equipment involved, the quality of service required, the continuity of service required. See here clearly, very clear. There are various factors affecting the selection of primary feeder rating. Primary feeder generally carries 11 kV as well as 33 kV based upon the load density. So the primary feeder rating decided by the parameters, nature of load connected, density of the area served, the growth rate of the area, spare capacity, type and cost of circuit construction employed, design and capacity of substation involved, type of regulating equipment, the quantity as well as quality, the quality as well as continuity of the service required. These are the major parameters which are influenced by the primary feeder rating. Yes. So let us go for what is the primary feeder. You see here. So primary feeder, this is a 11 kV substation. This is a 11 kV substation bus. So 11 kV substation bus is initiated in the substation. So there onwards, the outgoing feeder is passing through a circuit breaker. A circuit breaker, it is a automatically operated device. The outgoing feeder passing through the circuit breaker through a continuously going through and covering large distances. This is the primary feeder. Suppose when power utilization is required, suppose here where one village or one town is there, then what they can does in the sense, so they are simply taking a tapping from the primary feeder. Primary feeder is continuously going. So when power utilization is required, what they can does, they are taking a tapping from the primary feeder. So tapping, how they are taking through the FEs is, so these are the primary laterals. Yes. So this feeder is going to the load center, and in load center there is a distribution transformer which is initiated and converting high voltage into low voltages, which is useful to the consumers so that they can utilize the voltage or power. So this may be connected to some other by using a normally open or normally switch. So like that, this the organizational view of the primary feeder. It is having number of laterals. The primary feeder is main feeder or express feeder, which is continuously going on. From this feeder, number of tappings are going into the control circuitry, which is with the help of a protective equipment. So switches are protective equipment, circuit breakers are protective equipment, sectionalizing switches, reclosers, three-pole reclosers. So all these are this is a primary feeder consisting of number of laterals, and how the underground cable is represented, how the capacitor bank is to be connected to the primary feeder to inject reactive power into the circuit so that the power factor is compensated. Is finally a normally open tie to adjacent feeder to the other substations may be impossible. Yes. So this diagram represents the single line diagram of a primary distribution feeder or feeders. So for example, during the passing of the feeder, any particular area having a power requirement. So then immediately they are taking a tapping through the protective phase and then initiating a distribution transformer and step down the voltage and utilizing them. That's all. So this is the single line diagram of the primary feeder. So what are the different types of primary feeder classification? So primary feeders are classified in two types. One is the radial type primary feeder. Another one is the loop or mesh type primary feeder. So let us see the radial type primary feeder. Yes. So this is the radial type primary feeder. So in radial type primary feeder, already we discussed in the beginning of this unit during the classification of distribution systems. So radial in the sense from source point to up to the destination point, the connection is provided in a single path. That is nothing but the radial connection. So this is the single line diagram of the radial primary feeder. It commences at the substation through the circuit breaker and then supply power to the various centers through a single path. So unfortunately, at any particular place, the power is to be cut off. There is no power until the fault is to be rectified. So these are the distribution transformers. Distribution transformers are located in the sense it supply power to the consumers. Yes. So this is the thing. And these are the laterals as well as the sublaterals. See, distribution substation LV bus, primary main feeder, transformer use, distribution transformer, laterals. So this is the simple way. But ultimately, what is the radial type primary feeder in the sense? From the substation onwards to up to the consumer end, it provides a single path. So during any fault arises, if unfortunately the power is to be cut off, there is no power for the entire consumers until the fault is to be rectified. Yes. So this is the primary feeder. Now see here, the simplest, lowest cost, and therefore the most common form of primary feeder is the radial type primary feeder, as shown. This is the diagram. Why? Because it is very simple with a reasonable cost. That is the reason most of the rural areas, the power is to be supplied through the radial system. But the domestic load is not emergency load. That's why radial is preferable. The current magnitude is greatest in the circuit conductors that leave the substation. Here the current magnitude is high that leave the substation, and the magnitude is continuously decreases towards the end of the feeder as laterals and sublaterals are tapped up the power. So the current magnitude is high at the substation while leaving, and this magnitude is continuously decreases due to the laterals and sublaters tap the power. so that it is magnitude is continuously decreases. Usually the current decreases, the size of the feeder conductor also reduced. However, the voltage regulation may restrict any feeder size reduction which is based only on thermal capability. So very clear, as the current magnitude is greatest at the beginning of the substation, and if this magnitude is continuously decreases, so that the feeder size is also reduces. But however, to maintain the voltage regulation properly from source end to the load end without any effects, so the voltage regulation may restrict the size reduction, which is based only on the thermal capability of the feeder. So that is nothing but the current carrying capacity of the primary feeder. So simply, the radial feeder is one which provide power from source to the destination in a single path. And this is the most familiar methodology to transfer power to the rural areas where the load is not emergency load. Similarly, another one is the loop type primary feeder. Loop type primary feeder. You see here, in loop type primary feeder, the feeder circuit or primary feeder circuit seems to be a loop. See, it commences from the substation, and with the help of a tie breaker, the loop is to be connected. Number of loop tie breakers are to be connected. It seems to be a loop. And power passing in two parallel paths. Every consumer having a power with two parallel paths. So power supplied during the power supplying in one particular path, any interruption taking place, the utility has to be diverted power from the other path. Yes. So that is the reason that every consumer having two parallel paths, more than one parallel path, that may be two. Yes. So why this type of system is to be prepared in the sense, the loads like emergency loads, so for example, hospitals, commercial centers, business centers, shopping malls, cine complexes, the load, emergency of load is very huge. Yes. So that's why here this type of connection is to be prepared where every consumer having more than one parallel path. So the service reliability is very high, interruptions are very less. Yes. So let us consider what is the radial type feeder. Sorry, the loop type of feeder. The loop type of primary feeder which loops through the feeder load area and return back to the bus. Yes. So it commenced and cover the load area and again return back to the bus. The loop can function if the tie disconnect switches or breakers normally open or closed. Yes. So this loop can be functioning if the tie disconnect switches or breakers normally open or closed. And how the size of the size of the conductor is same throughout the length of the loop. There is no doubt in this. Yes, usually the size of the feeder conductor is kept the same throughout the loop. It is selected to carry its normal load plus the load of the other half of the loop. Yes, for example, the conductor size throughout the loop is same, one thing. And the second thing is, it is selected in such a way that it can carry its original load up to the loop tie breaker plus the load of the other half of the loop when the problems arises. So therefore, usually the size of the feeder conductor is kept the same throughout the loop. It is selected to carry its normal load plus load of the other half of the loop. Yes. It is especially beneficial to provide service for loads where high service reliability is important or required. So that's we discussed where the emergency loads like hospitals, in such type of cases, this type of Apart from this two parallel paths, they are providing their own arrangements like generators in the important organizations. Yes. So providing two parallel paths, any parallel path may have any problem. The rest will supply the power to the consumer so that high reliability of service is provided for the consumer. This is the most important for us. Yes. So therefore, what is the primary feeder? What is the rating of the primary feeder? What are the factors affecting or influencing the rate selection of the primary feeder rating? And primary feeder classifications are radial type primary feeder as well as loop type primary feeder. So these two feeders are designed based upon the feeder voltages as well as feeder loading. So let us go for the design consideration of the primary feeder based upon the voltage levels. Yes. So primary feeder design considerations based upon voltage levels. Yes. Yes. The primary feeder voltage is the most important factor affecting the system design, cost, and operation. Is already you know, primary feeder, the current is uniformly distributed throughout the length of the line. Voltages may be a 3.3 kV, 6.6 kV, 11 kV like this. So the feeder voltage is the most important factor affecting the system design, cost, and operation. Why? Because as the voltage levels are increases, automatically the cost and operation and design considerations also changes. Some of the design and operation aspects affected by the primary feeder voltage level are: one is the primary feeder length. Yes. Another one is the primary feeder loading. Third one is the number of distribution substations. Fourth one is rating of distribution substations. And fifth one is number of sub-transmission lines. Number of customers affected by a specific outage. Next, system maintenance practice, the extent of tree trimming, joint use of utility poles, operation of the pole line, and the type of pole line design and construction. You see here, some of the design and operational aspects affected by the primary feeder voltage level. Voltage, more length is there, high voltages are required. More loading is required. That means that the load supplied to the consumers is high. The high voltages will meet the demand. Like that, how many number of substations and what is the existing rating of the substation and what is the existing sub-transmission lines? Suppose if any specific outage arises, how many consumers are affected? And system maintenance practice, extent of tree trimming, joint use of utility poles, operation of the pole line. So type of pole line and design construction. So these are the very crucial parameters which are influenced by the primary feeder voltage level. Yes. So along with the above factors, there are additional factors affecting the decisions of primary feeder voltage level selection as shown. See here, voltage level selection. The length, loading, number of substations, sub-transmission lines, all are discussed. In addition to the above, there are additional factors affecting the decisions for primary feeder voltage level selection as shown. So primary feeder voltage level selection, this is the load projection. Load projection in the sense, prediction of the future load, and power losses, equipment availability cost, adjacent substations and feeder voltages, company policies, subtransmission voltages, feeder lengths, voltage drops. So these all also consider into account for the voltage level selection. Yes. So load projection is the one of the most important, and power loss, and also what is the length of the feeder, voltage drops, subtransmission voltages, and resistance substation and feeder voltages, and equipment availability cost. All these are considered into account. And as per the voltage square law, what the voltage square law given us is, so according to the voltage square law, for a given voltage drop, the feeder length and loading are direct functions of the feeder voltage level. Very clear. The voltage square law, what it informs that for a given voltage drop is to be main concern to be considered. For a given voltage drop, the feeder length as well as loading are direct functions of the feeder voltage level. So therefore, if feeder voltage is doubled, for example, if 11 kV is there on the primary feeder, if the voltage is to be doubled, how much load and how much area it is to be covered than the existing one? This is the more important for us. For example, if the feeder voltage is doubled for the same percent voltage drop, it can supply power 4 times the distance, 4 times the distance. However, the feeder with increased length feeds more load. Is it or not? So therefore, existing voltage is to be doubled. It can serve the power 4 times the distance. So therefore, the feeder with a increased length feeds more load. And similarly, the new and higher voltage level through voltage square factor is to be given here. Voltage square factor is equal to line to neutral voltage nu, line to neutral voltage nu by line to neutral voltage exist new voltage by, that is increased voltage by existing voltage whole square. And the same percent voltage drop will always provided the following relationship: distance ratio into load ratio is equal to voltage square factor, where distance ratio is equal to new distance by old distance, and load ratio is equal to new feeder loading by old feeder loading. So as per the voltage square law, what it says in the sense, for a constant voltage drop, the feeder length and loading are the direct functions of the voltage. Therefore, increasing of the voltage or decreasing of the voltage will cover will change the loading as well as the area coverage. Yes. So from this, voltage square factor is all new increased levels by old levels. So where distance ratio is to be considered new distance by old distance, load ratio is to be considered new feeder loading by old feeder loading. Yes, the relationship between the area served by substation, and voltage rule defines the area coverage principle. The relationship between the voltage square factor rule and the period distance coverage principle explained as shown here. Yes, see here. This is the existing system. The line to neutral voltage is 1 per unit. Current is also 1 per unit. Impedance of the line is also 1 per unit. So therefore, voltage drop is equal to, per unit voltage drop is to be considered into account. It is the impedance drop divided by the base voltage, which is equal to 1 into 1 by 1 is the 1 per unit. This is the existing system, for example, we have to be considered. And we increase the existing voltage to the double by keeping the voltage drop has to be kept constant. So in the second diagram, you can observe if the voltage drop is to voltage line to neutral voltage is to be doubled by keeping the voltage drop is constant, 1 per unit, 1 per unit. So how much power it can be served? That is the more important for us. Due to the increased, doubled the voltage level, it covers the 4 times the distance. It covers the 4 times the distance, and the magnitude of current has to be reduced. Magnitude of the current has to be reduced to half. So therefore, voltage drop is equal to I into Z. Z is the 4, current is the half, divided by the voltage is 2, which is the 1 per unit. So therefore, same KVA load, V2 by E1 square times the distance. V2 by E1 squares the distance. So you see here the percentage voltage drop here, the percentage voltage drop here also same. For the same, keeping the voltage drop as constant and increasing the voltage double to the existing, resulting covers the 4 times the distance. So when the magnitude, as the current voltage increases, the magnitude of the current is to be half. Yes. So same KVA load, V2 by new voltage by old voltage whole square times the distance. And similarly, by keeping the same percentage voltage drop, and double the voltage by keeping double the KVA load. KVA load is to be double. See here, the magnitude of current is 1 and Z is equal to 2. So voltage drop is equal to 1 per unit. There is no change in the voltage drop. But due to KVA double, it should be E2 by E1 whole square into half. Yes, E2 by E1 whole square into half times the distance. So this configuration illustrates that the voltage square rule and feeder distance coverage principle as a function of feeder voltage level and a single load. Yes. So the relationship between the area covered by substation and voltage rule defines the area coverage principle. So that relationship between the voltage square factor and distance coverage principle is to be clearly explained here. So this is the existing system and same KVA load. How much is the distance? E2 by E1 square. So KVA is to be doubled, so it is half into V2 by E1 whole square times the distance. Yes. For constant percentage voltage drop and uniformly distributed load, the feeder service area is proportional to line to neutral voltage nu by line to neutral voltage old whole square into whole power 2 by 3. This is the for constant percentage voltage drop, and that too the feeder is uniformly distributed load, then the feeder service area is proportional to the voltage square factor whole power 2 by 3. For example, if new feeder voltage is increased to twice the previous voltage level, the new load and area that can be served with same percentage of voltage drop is equal to VLN nu by VLN old whole square whole power 2 by 3 is equal to 2 square whole power 2 by 3. It is the 2.25 times of the original load and area it covers. The voltage, as per the voltage square law, the feeder service area, you can consider the feeder service area as well as load has to be calculated, which is equal to 2.5 times of the, if voltage is to be double, which can covers the 2.52 times of original load as well as the area it covers if voltage is to be double. For example, if feeder voltage level is increased to thrice the previous voltage level, the new load and area that can be served with same percentage voltage drop is, see, it is the 4.32 times of the original load and area it covers. Yes. So for a uniformly distributed load, the relation between feeder area coverage principle and feeder voltage as shown here, Yes. So this is the existing system where the line to neutral voltage is 1 per unit. This is the area covered. Area covered is 1, load is also 1. So these 3 is the original existing or reference system. If voltage is to be doubled, voltage is to be doubled. See here, voltage is to be doubled. See here, 2.52 times as per the calculation. For keeping voltage drop is same, voltage is to be doubled in the sense it can serve the load as well as very area coverage is double. See, similarly, the line to neutral voltage is to be double. So as per this expression, it is the 2.52 times higher than the existing one. 2.52 times load as well as area it covers than the existing. So this principle simply explains about the feeder area coverage principle as related to feeder voltage and a uniformly distributed load. Uniformly distributed load. So these basic details are to be considered into account for design consideration of the primary feeder. And similarly, the primary feeder is also designed based upon the feeder loading. So already I told that primary feeder is existing between substation to the primary of the distribution transformer. So the load is uniformly distributed throughout the length of the line. So therefore the design considerations are based upon one is the voltage level, another one is feeder loading. So feeder voltage levels are discussed so far and feeder loading is to be considered into account. Yes. So the primary feeder loading is defined as the loading of a feeder during peak load conditions as measured at the substation. See here, the loading of the feeder during peak load conditions as measured at the substation. Some of the factors affecting design considerations of primary feeder loading are, see, the first one is the density of the feeder load, the nature of the feeder load, the growth rate of the feeder load, the reserve capacity requirements for emergency, the service continuity and service reliability requirements, the quality of service, the primary feeder voltage level, the type and cost of construction, the location and capacity of distribution substation, the voltage regulation equipment. See here, the loading also one of the challenging here. So loading of the feeder during the peak load conditions, that is also measured at the substation. So majorly the density of the feeder load and as well nature of the feeder load, and similarly the growth rate is also considered into account, is, and the reserve capacity requirements for emergency, and the service continuity and the service reliability requirements, and the quality of service required, and the primary feeder voltage level, the type and cost of construction, location and capacity of the distribution substation, the voltage regulation equipments. So all these are influenced by the primary feeder loading. Is primary feeder loading. How the loading is to be taking place? The primary feeder is always uniformly loading throughout the length of the primary feeder. So in addition to the above factors which are influencing the primary feeder loading, there are additional factors affecting the decisions for feeder routing, the number of feeders, the feeder conductor size selection are the most important. One is the feeder routing and the number of feeders, and third one is the feeder conductor size selection. Let us consider one by one here. The first one you have to consider feeder routing. Routing, how the feeder is to be selected a route. Is so routing in the sense the feeder in select the routing is selected in such a way that even it covers the large distance also, but it will cover huge load areas. That is the way. Yes. So physical barriers, physical barriers. These are the oppositions. Oppositions. Voltage drops, development patterns, total cost, is feeder selection, future load growth, and load density. These are the factors affecting feeder routing decisions. Physical barriers are one of the most important. Nobody can oppose the once you can erect a line. And voltage drop is also most important. Development patterns. In future, if you construct a, a feeder via through one particular route, it may be possible for future developments or not. Total cost and future load growth, load density, all these are to be considered into account. And similarly, in addition to the feeder routing, number of feeders as well as conductor size selection also influenced by the primary feeder loading, such as, for example, number of feeders are to be considered into account. Number of feeders, as the number of feeders increases, it can serve the more load density, feeder length. That too, number of feeders increases means financially it's not reliable, not economical, but it will serve the more load density, feeder length, feeder limitations, conductor size, voltage drops, and substation capacity, primary voltage levels. Is so as the number of feeders increases is beneficial to the consumer point of view, but at the same time leads to the financial process. So according to the length of the feeder, also the cost increases. So conductor size increases, also the cost increases. All these are to be considered into account. And similarly, the last one, which is the conductor size selection. Conductor size selection based upon the voltage drops, transformer rating, conductor rating, total cost, power losses, load growth rate, and load forecast. So all these are considered into account. The conductor size is to be selected. Yes. So conductor size. Suppose if you erect a line having a conductor size is small, it can capable to serve up to certain load. If you selecting a size in good, so that it will deliver more power to the consumers. In case in future the load forecast may be increases, the same conductor is capable to serve the power to the consumers. So load growth is kept in mind, load forecast is kept in mind, and power losses and total cost, voltage drops, all are considered into mind. The conductor size is to be selected. So it is what is the design consideration of primary feeders. What is the primary feeder? What is the single line diagram of the primary feeder? And primary feeders are two types, radial types as well as loop type. And these radial and loop type feeders are designed based upon two concerns. One is the primary feeder voltage level, another one is the primary feeder loading. So far, these are the design details of primary system has to be completed. Thank you one and all.